Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our revered speaker for today, His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami Maharaj. And all glories to the Son of the Vaishnava devotees. Devotees, we thank you all for being here. And as you may already be aware, we are very much fortunate. We have His Holiness with us today. And Maharaj, since today is our first time in the year meeting, we wish to wish you a happy Krishna conscious New Year. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, thank you. And
yeah,
all the best.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much.
As well.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. So, without further ado, Maharaj, we may put the verse on the screen and then you take it over from here.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so let's begin with some pranati. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapara-kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Gang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. So I'm happy to be here with you all today. I believe it's the same time zone as I'm in Nigeria, but I don't know where you all are. Some are in Nigeria, I suppose. So it's afternoon. And what better time to read and reflect on this transcendental literature, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. I've been told we're reading this particular verse, Canto 3, Chapter 5, verse 43. I believe this chapter is called Questions by Vidura, something like that. And what we have here is one of the prayers.
Yes, Maharaj.
One of the prayers of the devas, the demigods, to the Lord. They've been engaged in manifesting the universe or creating the universe, but they have a problem, and that problem is mentioned or is expressed in verse number 38. Basically, the problem is that the devas have duties to perform, but they cannot perform them. These are duties of universal control. They're supposed to be controllers, but they can't actually make connections to be controllers without the grace of the Lord. Okay, so let's read verse number 43. If you can scroll up a little bit. Yes. Viśvasya janma-sthiti-saṁyamārthe kṛtāvatārasya padāmbujaṁ. Vrajema sarve śaraṇaṁ yadisha smṛtaṁ prayacchaty abhayaṁ sva-puṁsām. Viśvasya janma-sthiti-saṁyamārthe kṛtāvatārasya padāmbujaṁ. Vrajema sarve śaraṇaṁ yadisha smṛtaṁ prayacchaty abhayaṁ sva-puṁsām. Once more. Viśvasya janma-sthiti-saṁyamārthe kṛtāvatārasya padāmbujaṁ. Vrajema sarve śaraṇaṁ yadisha smṛtaṁ prayacchaty abhayaṁ sva-puṁsām. And you can scroll down. Okay, so we have the word-for-word synonyms, viśvasya, of the cosmic universe, janma, creation, sthiti, maintenance, saṁyama-arthe, for the dissolution, also. Kṛta, accepted or assumed, avatārasya, of the incarnations. Pada-ambujam, lotus feet, te, your vrajema. Let us take shelter of sarve, all of us. śaraṇaṁ, shelter, yet that which, isha, O Lord, smṛtam, remembrance, prayacchaty, awarding, abhayaṁ, courage, and sva-puṁsām, of the devotees. Translation. Can you scroll? O Lord, you assume incarnations for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. And therefore we all take shelter of your lotus feet, because they always award remembrance and courage to your devotees. And the purport. For the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestations, there are three incarnations: Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshvara, Lord Shiva. They are the controllers or masters of the three modes of material nature, which cause the phenomenal manifestation. Vishnu is the master of the mode of goodness, Brahma is the master of the mode of passion, and Maheshvara is the master of the mode of ignorance. You can scroll. Okay, let's see. Oh, yes, there are different kinds of devotees according to the modes of nature. Persons in the mode of goodness worship Lord Vishnu, those in the mode of passion worship Lord Brahma, and those in the mode of ignorance worship Lord Shiva. All three of these deities are incarnations of the Supreme Lord Krishna, because he is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. The demigods directly refer to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and not to the different incarnations. The incarnation of Vishnu in the material world is, however, directly worshipped by the demigods. It is learned from various scriptures that the demigods approach Lord Vishnu in the ocean of milk and submit their grievances whenever there is some difficulty in the administration of universal affairs. Although they are incarnations of the Lord, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva worship Lord Vishnu, and thus they are also counted amongst the demigods and not as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Persons who worship Lord Vishnu are called demigods, and persons who do not do so are called asuras, or demons. Vishnu always takes the part of the demigods, but Brahma and Shiva sometimes take the side of the demons. It is not that they become one in interest with them, but sometimes they do something in order to gain control over the demons. And so ends the purport to this verse. We can go back up to the verse. O Lord, you assume incarnations for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation, and therefore we all take shelter of your lotus feet because they always award remembrance and courage to your devotees. Okay, mukam karati vachalam, pangum langayate girim yat kripa, tamaham vande shigurum dīnataharanam. Viśvasya janma-sthiti-saṁyamārthe kṛtāvatārasya padāmbujaṁ. Vrajema sarve śaraṇaṁ yarisha smṛtam prayacchaty abhayaṁ sva-puṁsām. The core statement in this verse, in terms of its grammar, is in the third line, vrajema, vrajema śaraṇaṁ. We go, or we resort to, we take refuge. And with whom do they take refuge? In Isha. And the word Isha is in the vocative case, which means they're directly addressing, oh Isha. Just like we chant Hare Krishna. We're directly addressing Krishna in the grammatical sense of calling out. This is called sambodhana, calling attention. And this word vrajema, we might notice, is similar to a word in perhaps the most famous verse of the Bhagavad Gita, sarva dharman parityaja Mamekam śaraṇaṁ vraja. So that vraja is also in, like here, it's in the imperative form. Krishna is telling Arjuna, vraja. What does vraja mean? Well, we think it, we think of Vraja Vrindavan. And one might make a kind of rasic connection there. But technically, vraj, V-R-A-J, is a verbal root, a dhatu, and it has the meaning to go, can also mean to walk or to proceed, to travel, and it can also mean to wander or to just to move. So this vrajema is let us go, let us not wander in this context. Certainly they don't want to wander to Krishna's shelter, they want to go directly. But in the dictionary, it specifically says that the verb vraj together with śaraṇaṁ specifically means to take refuge with. So we can take actually the whole verse as a kind of echo and expansion of Bhagavad Gita 1866, where Krishna is exhorting Arjuna to surrender. Mam ekam śaraṇaṁ vraja. Śaraṇa means shelter or refuge. It's a noun. And you could say the rest of the verse is explaining why they want to do that. They want to take shelter of Isha. Why? Well, viśvasya, janma-sthiti-saṁyamārthe, saṁyama-arthe, kṛtāvatārasya. First of all, because he is the one who is appearing, avatara, or descending. Avatara, ava means down, and tara is crossing down. So the Lord, Isha, is the one who crosses down, arthe, for the purpose. What purpose? Janma-sthiti-saṁyamā. Creation, maintenance, and destruction. Of what? Of the universe, viśvasya. So here we have another echo, I would say, from within the Bhagavatam, namely from the very first verse of the Bhagavatam, which, as you all certainly know, begins janma-dyasya yaton bhayad itaratas charte svavinyasvarat. So that janma adi, in this context, adi, well, very often, adi literally means beginning, but it can have the sense of etc. So janma, etc. And whenever there's janma, etc., one can understand that means birth or creation and maintenance and destruction. So it's a kind of typical expression to save space, to make it compact, janmadi. No need to say janma-sthiti-saṁyamārthe. But here in this verse, it's expanded out just in case anyone is not sure. And vrajema sarve śaraṇaṁ. Let us go to the to the refuge, śaraṇaṁ. Which śaraṇaṁ? Pada-ambujam, the lotus feet. Ambuja means born from ambu, born out of the water. There's also pankaja, born from the mud. And pada, of course, means feet. And the whole word, the compound, padāmbujaṁ, is in the singular case. And one might think, well, wait a minute, the Lord has 2 feet. But that's a kind of technical point that within this pada, there can be more than one. Why? Because it's part of a compound and the ending is taken off. So it could be, I guess, pada-ambujam. So we're, the demigods are saying, let's take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. And then in the last line, they give basically 2 more reasons, which we could say are more directly what they're interested in. Smṛtam, prayacchaty, abhayaṁ, sva-puṁsām. This sva-puṁsām, sva means oneself, and puṁsām is, I guess, genitive plural, so of one's own people, one's own folk. And we may want to say that Srila Prabhupada in his purport is elaborating on this point toward the end of the purport, where he's saying it's the demigods who, it's the devas, it's the devas or demigods that take shelter of the Lord, as opposed to the asuras who don't. And he also makes this interesting point that the those, in terms of the modes of nature, those in the mode of ignorance, worship Lord Shiva, those in passion worship Lord Brahma. Well, who is worshiping Lord Brahma? Yes, Hiranyakashipu is worshiping Lord Brahma. Other than Hiranyakashipu, we'd have to see. Maybe one of you can suggest who else. But in general, Lord Brahma is not worshipped. He's kind of been cursed to not receive worship. I believe there's only a couple of temples in India dedicated to Brahma. One at Pushkar, and I think there's a little temple in Varshana, maybe others. But these 2 words, smṛtam and abhayam, are certainly significant for the devas. Smṛtam is remembrance. It's also a noun, so it's a kind of abstract noun, remembrance. We know smriti refers to literature. There's shruti, there's smriti, but this is smṛtam, so just the general idea of remembrance. And abhayam, of course, the opposite of abhayam. And bhaya, we can say, is the whole problem of material existence. So they're touching on, in a sense, saying, the Lord, you are the one who resolves all the essential problem of material existence, which is bhaya. Bhayavati, what is it? Bhayavati, avatirna, abhayaṁ dvitiya viniveshatasya ishamat-petasya viparyayo asmriti. Bhaktyaka yesham guru devatatma. So in the 11th canto, this explanation is given for what constitutes material existence. It starts with turning away from the Lord, abhiniveshatas bhayam dvitiya, and as a result of that, having a sense of duality, apetasya, I think, is turning away from the Lord. Isham apetasya viparyaya asmriti. And asmriti, forgetfulness. So out of that forgetfulness is coming abhayam, coming this fear. So in this verse, it's saying that the Lord is the one who can give smriti, remembrance, and can give abhaya, fearlessness. So by describing the Lord in this way, they're addressing him and encouraging him to respond and fulfill their need. This point of remembrance, we may also want to remember that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj prays to Lord Chaitanya in Adi Lila, I believe it's chapter 14, verse 1. Katanchana smrite yasmin duskaram sukaram bhavet vismrite viparitam syat Shri Chaitanya namamitam. I offer obeisance to you, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the remembrance of whom whatever is difficult to do, duskaram, becomes easy, sukaram. By remembering you, that which is difficult to accomplish becomes easy to accomplish. Vismrite viparitam syat. And the opposite is the case when we forget Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that which is normally easy to do becomes difficult. So we want to remember the Lord. Smṛtam, the Lord is Isha, is giving that remembrance. And as a result of giving that remembrance, he's giving abhaya, he's giving fearlessness. Or, as Prabhupada says in the word for word, abhayam, he's giving courage. Courage, that's very interesting because it suggests we might want to say an essential quality or capacity for devotees to preach. If we want to preach Lord Chaitanya's mission, we need some courage. We need to feel encouraged and then to have courage to face all sorts of opposition. Courage which is possible by remembering, smṛtam, that that Lord who is descending into this world for the purpose of creation, maintenance, and destruction. So these are a few aspects of this prayer. Prayacchaty is the is another verb. Vrajema is let us go to shelter. And then prayacchaty, awarding, and it's third person singular, so it would be referring to padāmbujaṁ. So the feet which are born of the water, literally, singular. So it matches grammatically. Padāmbujaṁ prayacchati. So the feet of avatārasya, of the one who descends, award. And what do they award? They award smṛtaṁ and abhayaṁ. And they award for the devotees, sva-puṁsām. And as Srila Prabhupada is also saying in the purport, the Lord is favoring his devotees. He is equal to all, but he especially favors his devotees. Where is that? Yes, at the end, Vishnu always takes the part of the demigods, but Brahma and Shiva sometimes take the side of the demons. And then, it's an interesting point at the very end, it is not that they become one in interest with them, but sometimes they do something in order to gain control over the demons. So we may wonder in this case, well, what about that when Hiranyakashipu was worshiping Lord Brahma? He was kind of demanding from Brahma the power of eternal life, and of course he said, I can't give that, but he could grant all of these kind of conditions in which he would not be killed. So one might well ask, so then how is it that Lord Brahma is gaining control over the demons? It may be said that in this case, the control that Brahma had was that Hiranyakashipu was focused in his austerity to please Lord Brahma. And by having that focus, despite having evil intentions, he was advancing, he was progressing, he was engaging in meditation, in yoga, and as a result, he was preparing himself ultimately to be qualified to ultimately be controlled by and killed by Lord Vishnu. So we may say in a kind of indirect way, Lord Brahma was gaining control over him in that way. So those are a few simple, straightforward points. Maybe we can pause here and see if any of you have any comments you'd like to add, or maybe a question at this point.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Maharaj, for sharing with us this transcendental text. Devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, realizations you may want to ask or share, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or to share. Hare Krishna.
And
Maharaj, we hear so much about yeah, Maharaj, I have a question. We hear so much about Lord Vishnu and Mother Lakshmi in the ocean of milk, as Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport. I haven't come across anywhere where it is said that there are lots of activities going on in this particular abode where Lord Vishnu is in that Garbo ocean and being served by Mother Lakshmi. It appears to me, are they the only two beings there, or there are other 11 entities there worshiping the Lord? Because the Lord has to be worshipped, and that means that there must be worshippers. This is my wondering. I'm not sure if you may help.
I'm trying to see where you're referring to in the purport. The demigods approach Lord Vishnu in the ocean of milk. Is that what you're speaking about?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't see here any mention of Lakshmi.
Is the Lord just there by himself with Mother Lakshmi?
Well, I think first we have to see what is the context here of what he's, the context, what Prabhupada is saying here. He's not, his purpose is not to describe what's going on in the ocean of milk. His purpose is to emphasize that it is Vishnu whom the demigods approach when they're in trouble. They're not approaching Lord Brahma. They're not approaching Shiva. They're approaching Vishnu. And he says, in the ocean of milk. Well, or, Shveta-dvipa, which is in the ocean of milk. Maybe your question is Shveta-dvipa consisting only of Shiva and Vishnu and Lakshmi, or are there other inhabitants there? Well, I would think, because we always hear the Lord is not alone ever, that there are other inhabitants serving. we can well imagine that Lakshmi has many assistants. Lakshmi sahasrashata sambrahmasevyamānam, right? And there may be expansions of Lakshmi there. There is, if I remember correctly, in the Mahabharata, a description of Shveta-dvipa in the Moksha Dharma, somewhere in the Moksha Dharma portion, or in the Shanti Parvan in any case. Bhishma speaking. There the Lord is referred to as Narayana. But I don't know that it's describing other beings there. Yeah, it's an interesting question, but maybe from your question, we can kind of take a little tangent to something I read today. This is from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And this is in Vaikuntha. This is volume 2. And it's chapter 4. Narada is speaking to Gopa Kumar in Vaikuntha. And he says, this is verse 139, and well, there's 3 or 4 or 5 verses. Let's see. But it's interesting. It says, and the verse 130, 139 says, Sri Narada said, don't think that the flocks of animals and birds of this place, so we're talking about Vaikuntha, or the trees, creepers, bushes, grass, and other vegetation are made from earth like ordinary creatures in the mode of ignorance. And the commentary, short commentary from Gopi Paratnadana Prabhu says, in Vaikuntha, Gopakumar saw many animals like cows, horses, and elephants, birds like doves and cuckoos, trees, bushes, and creepers like mandaras and kundas, and seemingly inauspicious creatures like insects and worms. He would have been wrong to think that these were inferior living beings born into bodies covered by the mode of ignorance. They were not degraded like the living beings of the material world that assume bodies made of the element earth. And then it goes on, verse 140, in fact, these are all personal associates of Sri Krishna, all with spiritual Satchit-Ananda bodies. They have assumed such forms to taste the ecstasy of serving the Lord in various ways. So just imagine even insects and worms taking certain forms to taste the ecstasy of serving the Lord in various ways. And then the commentary says, these Vaikuntha-vasis choose to play such roles as animals and birds to increase the variety of Lord Narayana's pleasure. And they also want to share in that pleasure. Thus, the birds, bees, trees, and creepers described by Lord Brahma in the third canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, when he tells of his own experience of Vaikuntha, are not ignorant creatures like the corresponding species of life in the material world. And verse 141 says, they have assumed forms with colors and shapes similar to those of the Lord they have worshipped as most dear. Now, there's a commentary to this. This verse indicates that Vaikuntha devotees who appear in non-human forms, such as those of some animal or plant, have worshipped similar forms of Lord Narayana, who by his expansion appeared in those same species. These devotees, each in his own way, have realized the perfection of sarupya, having attained forms that look just like those of the Supreme Lord. So the Supreme Lord takes the form of a worm, perhaps, and then the devotees take sarupya, that same form. And then the next verse, having each attained sameness with a particular form of the Lord, they have gained the opulences of various kinds of bodies as sages, demigods, fish, tortoises, human beings, and mystic seers. And verse 143, Varaha narasingascha vamanascha trilochanaha chaturmukha sahasraksha maha purusha vigraha. Some have become hogs, man lions, or dwarfs, and some have 3 eyes, 4 arms, or thousands of eyes, like the Mahapurusha. And one more verse. Some have assumed bodies with thousands of faces, or with features like such deities as the gods of air and fire. Some have 4 arms, or 8, or 12, or more, and various kinds of dress, ornaments, symbols, and other attributes. So that's Vaikuntha, and I believe Shvetadvip is understood to be a Vaikuntha realm within the universe. So to me, the logic would be, yes, there are so many devotees there.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for sharing this amazing variegatedness in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Wow. So in other words, any form one can ever imagine, the Supreme Lord has that form and has appeared in that form in some part of the universe, and has been worshipped.
Yes, it's said that the Lord appears in every one of the 8,400,000 species. And also, there's a verse in the 3rd canto, I think it's in chapter 9, Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita ritsaroja ase shutekshitapato nanunata pungsam yat yat diyata urgaya vibhavayanti yat yat vapu pranayase sadhanugrahaya. That for one who's engaged in bhakti yoga, the Lord who is situated in the heart manifests in the form which is desired by the devotee. He reciprocates.
Well, thank you so much, Maharaj. I don't know if there is a way you can attempt to fix this, but I'm getting a notification that your internet connection is quite unstable.
Oh.
So that's why sometimes your audio kind of breaks up.
Oh.
And it's like your audio is fighting against your image. So sometimes we hear you, we do not see you. Sometimes we see you and we do not hear you clearly. But we have Madhavan Prabhu's hand up. Madhavan Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Nadavatranam. All glory unto your Lotus feet. Thank you very much for sharing your time with us, your time schedule. We so much appreciate. From this text, something came to my mind when they mentioned that when the demigod said that the take shelter of the vicious total, because they always award remembrance and courage.
Madhavan Prabhu, Madhavan Prabhu, sorry, Madhavan, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Is it possible to turn off your video? Turn off your camera? Okay, good.
Is it better now?
So we can hear you better. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is
Hare
that
Krishna.
in this Hare Krishna, in this text, remembrance and courage was mentioned. So my question now is,
no, but you must bring it to boil.
The demigod, were they given such responsibilities before? And is it because of that they are talking of remembrance? And maybe they have done it before and they are begging for how they can remember how to do this, to carry out the responsibility.
But it was that's styrofoam balls.
Can you ask this devotee Rupanuga to mute? Yes.
Hare Krishna.
KFC sells it or donates it to people.
Okay.
Maharaj, excuse me. Rupanuga Prabhu, make sure you mute yourself when you're not speaking, please. So there will be no interruption. Hare Krishna. So Maharaj, you may go ahead, please.
Yeah, I don't think I got the question. I'm sorry.
Okay. Maybe I can come again. My question is, in this text, they mention smṛti or remembrance. So does it mean that demigods have been given such responsibility before, and they are praying for remembrance and also courage to carry out the responsibility? That's my question.
Yeah, I think we can take it that way. That's why they are. That's why they're mentioning these two things. They want to have remembrance and courage so that they can perform their duties. Remembrance is important to, keep focused on what you're doing. If you get up in the morning and can't remember who you are and what your duties are, you become quite helpless. So we're getting remembrance all the time. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishta matta smṛti jnanam-bhojanam cha. And so they're recognizing the need that they need to have remembrance in order to, and similarly courage, being in a position of control, being a lord of other beings takes courage. Therefore, the kshatriyas have to, one of their qualities is courage. One of the qualities by which they work. That would be my understanding.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Maharaj, and thank you, Madhava Prabhu. Anadi Dinanam Prabhu, please, you may unmute. Anadi Dinanam Prabhu, are you still there? Well, Maharaj, before this devotee comes back to ask question or share comments or reflection, whatever, I have two questions. I have two questions, but the second question is dependent on my first question. So I'll first ask the first question, and then based on the answer, the second one may follow. And that is, Lord Chaitanya predicted that this Sankirtan movement will be in this material world for a maximum of 10,000 years, after which the Sankirtan movement will no more be in existence as it is today. Now, the question I have in this regard, because we're talking about dissolution, creation, maintenance, and dissolution. Does this mean that it is going to be widespread as Srila Prabhupada has done it, that we have the Sankirtan movement almost all over the world? Is that going to be the case, or it is going to be probably in a very small location and other places may be bereft of the Harinam Sankirtan movement, or it may appear to be dead at some point, and then another great acharya comes in at some point to revive it, or it's just going to be continuum as we have it today?
Oh, one of those questions. I have to get out my crystal ball. First of all, I don't know. Can you give a specific reference where Lord Chaitanya says 10,000 years and then it fades out? I don't know where that is. I hear
well,
this 10,000.
Okay, nice question. I do not. Yes, I haven't heard it from Lord Chaitanya himself, but I've heard it from Srila Prabhupada in some of his writings.
Yeah, I guess I would want to see.
And Srila Prabhupada points to Lord Chaitanya.
I guess I would want to see a very specific quote and also the context. But aside from that, I cannot predict. I like to remember His Holiness Kandama Swami's idea of ISKCON having 3 dimensions. The sort of mechanical, not mechanical, but the dimension of engagement, visible management, buildings, money, etc., is the ground floor, and then the next floor is our sadhana, our personal cultures, our sangha. And at least one time he referred to 3rd floor as Lord Chaitanya spreading the Sankirtan movement all over the universe, all the time, whether or not we take part and whether or not we see it. He didn't put any time limit on that. And when we hear Lord Chaitanya glorifying Sankirtan, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, he's not putting any time limit on that. He doesn't specify anything. He just says, Cheto Darpanamarjanam. This is the effect. This is all the benefits of Sankirtan. So I think it's open-ended, and in any case, I wouldn't worry too much about 10,000 years from now. That's quite a long time. We have, maximum 100 years. So we do what we can in this time. And yes, Prithivite ache jata nagaradigram. sarvatra prachar hoibe morana. Hoibe is future tense, there will be. What will there be? There will be the chanting, the glorification of his name. And where will it happen? Pritivite, on this earth. Pritivite ache jata, nagara adi grama. Villages, towns, etc. Jata kind of means wherever, I think. Sarvatra, everywhere. This is very Sanskritic Bengali, sarvatra, prachar. So this ending tra, there's yatra, there's tatra, there's sarvatra. Yatra means where, and tatra means there, and sarvatra means everywhere. So sarvatra prachar, where the preaching, the prachara of the holy name is going on. Hoibe, there will be this preaching. So let's take it that way and not worry about 10,000 years from now. Is that okay?
Well, yeah, thank you, Maharaj. The reason I asked this question is because almost all the bona fide religions of the world, as we know them today, were not used to be the way we know them today. They have changed. And we have scholars who can do extensive studies on each religion and understand how the early people of that particular religion lived and behaved. And so, luckily or unluckily for some of us, in the future, we are going to be referred to as the early members of this movement.
Mm-hmm.
And what we say and what we do today is going to be a reference point to those generations, which may be like maybe 40, 50 generations, 100 generations, just as people can study about like 5 AD, 10 AD of Lord Jesus Christ. And they understand that the way they were living their lives is different from the way those who call themselves followers of Christ live their life today. Mm-hmm. So my question is, I have this concern because, of course, I did not meet Srila Prabhupada in person, but his disciples were so blessed and so intelligent that they pretty much put everything necessary for the world to know about Srila Prabhupada into recording. Mm-hmm. And I've come across few places where Srila Prabhupada emphatically says that he has not come to sell Hare Krishna Mahamantra like other Swamis, other yogis came and did before him. Now, my concern is, and I complained about this some time ago and I got a very heavy backlash, but I'm asking this question to you, Maharaj, that I know, of course, I'm in the US. I know there is nothing in this world that is free. Everything you have to pay for it. And so if we have sadhu sangha, maybe we rent a venue, we rent a place, we're going to pay for the place that we are renting. We're going to pay for the electricity we're going to use. We're going to pay for the water we're going to use. We're going to pay for the boga we're going to prepare into prasadam. So it requires money. But when the wedding of the invitation does not specify that we need such and such amount of money to help us facilitate the sangha, but the wedding appears as before you can join this Harinam Sankirtan, before you can join this Harinam Sankirtan, you have to pay $10, you have to pay $5. If 200 years down the drain, some people come and then they say, okay, these are the Krishna people, they charge money before they give you a mantra. Let us refer to the early devotees, how they live their lives. And they come across something like, there is a flyer that states, before you join this sadhu sangha, you have to pay $5. It will give them the strength to say that, yes, even the early devotees used to do that. But I know that no devotee, especially in the ISKCON, is having any get-together sadhu sangha and is charging the devotees in the name of the sadhu sangha, but it is in the name of what we need to bring the sadhu sangha together. So my question is, if you think, as I am thinking in my own, excuse me to say, my crazy mind, my crazy head, that if we pay attention to the wedding of our flyers and invites, maybe it can help save this wonderful society in the future when some people become, excuse me to say, degraded to the point that they would want to charge money before they give mantra to another person to chant.
Mm.
And I'm putting this question to you, Maharaj. This is my concern. And if you feel my concern is inappropriate or it is vague somewhere, you may correct me. And if you think it is an important thing to be considered, then you may also share your advice, and then maybe we can all learn from it. This is my concern, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Without getting into any details, because I think that wouldn't be so helpful, what I will say is what you mentioned. As you said, so many devotees have written extensively about Srila Prabhupada and their personal experiences, and that's a wonderful thing. I've heard that there are, by one count, there's well over 50 books in English language about Srila Prabhupada, but someone else said, no, there are actually many more than that. In any case, I might at this point mention that I'm preparing a presentation for the ISKCON Leaders Sangha in Mayapur, where I want to encourage devotees to take up the writing of ISKCON history after Srila Prabhupada's departure. I think this is very important in a similar way, or for reasons, many reasons, including what you've just mentioned. And one type of history is oral history. And I think it would not be difficult to organize worldwide that different yatras make a an organized plan to interview older devotees and just get their memories of whatever they want to remember and share. And there are questionnaires, and there are ways of preparing a questionnaire that will encourage devotees to, to draw out their memories and so on. And that can be very valuable for future generations. So it's not just the very first time period when Prabhupada was present, but it's also the next, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. How are we remembering this period? Yeah, so that would be my comment.
Well, thank you so much, Maharaj. I'm not sure about other devotees assembled here, but speaking for myself, I am nobody to bless you. I rather need your blessings, but I may attempt to pray. I may attempt to pray to their lordships to bless you in this particular service, because it will be very, very helpful to the world for all times, because we all should try to keep the movement as Srila Prabhupada gave us, and if for anything, we should try to make it better, but not to degrade it. So thank you so much for this amazing service. And with that, we have one devotee hand up. Anadi Nidanam Prabhu, I hope you are back. Please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare.
Prabhu, I hope I'm audible because my network.
Yes, yes, you're clear. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Maharaj, my question is, Lord Shiva is a mode of ignorance, but at the same time, he is the topmost devotee. So I'm wondering, how can one be in a mode of ignorance at the same time be a topmost devotee? As in the case of Mother Mandodari, who is also a wife of Ravana, but is being glorified as a chaste woman. So my question is intertwined question. I hope you can help me. This is baffling me a lot. So if you can help me in this regard, Hare Krishna.
My understanding is that it's not that Lord Shiva is in the mode of ignorance, but rather he is Lord of the mode of ignorance. And yes, there may be a slight tinge of tamaguna by virtue of his being in touch with it. But otherwise, he is glorious in all respects. And of course, there are prayers to Lord Shiva in the fourth canto, which are practically like prayers to Lord Vishnu. In fact, I think it says like that. These can be taken as worship of Vishnu. So, yes, Vaishnavanam yata Shambhu. As Shambhu, who is Shiva, is best among the Vaishnavas, it said. He's not in any way disqualified by his connection to the mode of ignorance. He is master of the mode of ignorance. And he's glorified at every turn throughout the Bhagavatam. His followers are considered, something other than Lord Shiva. They are his followers. He gives shelter to all kinds. He is Bhutanath and so on. lord of the ghosts and whatever. But he himself is recognized as a great Vaishnava. And Mandodari is recognized, is acknowledged as a chaste wife because precisely that, she was chaste. She was faithful to Ravana, however much of a demon he might have been. He was also very, qualified in many ways. And so his wife is dutiful, and so she's honored for that. That would be my understanding.
Well, thank you, Maharaj. Anadi Nidanam Prabhu, I hope your question has been answered satisfactorily. Well, I didn't ask the question, but I have understood what Maharaj is sharing, and we can't thank him enough. Anyone else? Anyone else with something to ask Maharaj before we call it a day today? Well, Maharaj, it seems devotees. Oh, okay. We have Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Prabhu's hand up. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Dandava Pranam Maharaj. This is actually my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. All glory to your holiness. Actually, my question is borders on. I'm just reflecting on some of the questions being asked, and the project you just mentioned to us also about writing the history of ISKCON after the departure of Prabhupada. So I just want to hear from your holiness how best you think that we can continue with the Sankirtan mission despite so many reversals, I can say, in the present front. Of course, so many also good successes are recorded, but on a larger scale, sometimes the future looks bleak. If we want to compare with the spirit, the same spirit that was there during the time of Srila Prabhupada, the future looks a bit bleak and discouraging. Not so much, that kind of fiery missionary activities going on like before. So I'm just deducing this from some of the questions being asked. Reason why somebody may be asking, Srila Prabhupada said, my books will be the law books for the next 10,000 years. So one will be asking, will ISKCON actually, our Sankirtan mission, survive 10,000 years? Right now, barely, not even 100 years. And most of the temples empty and many things, So that's what I'm trying to ask Your Holiness. Well, what would you think, or what would you advise as the best way to forge ahead the Sankirtan mission in spite of whatever that is happening around us? Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. I think I have to get out my crystal ball again. I don't mean to make light of your question. I know you're asking seriously. I know you're asking seriously, but I've never been one for kind of seeing into the future. On a positive note, I just heard 3 or 4 days ago from Vaisheshika Prabhu that worldwide ISKCON has distributed 5 million Bhagavad Gitas in 2024.
Wow.
So, I mean, the scale, we kind of forget, but before Srila Prabhupada started his mission, there were the various Gaudiya Mats, and they were printing some books. And I mean, I think it wouldn't be unreasonable to guess that maybe they sold 1,000 or 2,000 books in a year. You know, they were not, Prabhupada wanted, before he came to the West, that's described, he wanted to print, what was it, 500 copies of something or 1,000. And the senior sannyasi said, no, that's too much, you know. So now we're talking 5 million Bhagavad Gitas. I mean, there's no comparison really. And as for temples being not like they were when Prabhupada was present, I think we need to look at not to look back so much, but to look forward to see how can we inspire devotees to come together. If it's not in fixed temples, maybe there are other ways. And of course, obviously the demographics have changed. Initially, it was practically all brahmacharis. Now it's householders. Now it's grihastas. And you can't expect grihastas to live in temples. Although in the very beginning, early in Los Angeles, some householder was telling, there was a time when in one large room, they had the room divided into, I don't know how many divisions, divided simply with hanging blankets, and one householder couple in each of these cells. So they were so, you know, they were in such a mood that was somehow okay, at least for some time. But I don't think we could inspire anyone like that nowadays. Yeah, so there's always this, you know, if you look at the history of religions generally, there will be a tradition, and out of that tradition will come a charismatic leader. And the charismatic leader will kind of refashion the tradition in some way, preserving it and at the same time renewing it. And then after that charismatic person departs, then there are attempts to preserve the charisma. And that's the challenge, because you have a paradox. And the paradox is, in order to preserve it, you seem to need some kind of organization, some kind of institution. But as soon as you have an institution, all sorts of, the institution tends to breed, or it tends to cater to certain material desires for control. So persons want to take positions and, you know, and that's just, but then, so you can say, well, let's disband the institution and let's just have the charisma. Okay, but how are you going to do that? How is it going to actually be carried forward? So that's a kind of dilemma and paradox that comes with every religious tradition. So I don't have any, maybe I don't have any reassuring words, except to say I think we do have an incredibly rich record of Srila Prabhupada's time and his teaching, extremely rich, extremely detailed, with audio recordings, video recordings, lectures, transcriptions, on and on. We have all of this. So we certainly have a treasure which we want to share, but we need to also be a little creative in how we bring that to others. I think one thing that has not been so much appreciated about Srila Prabhupada is he was what I would call a spiritual entrepreneur. He was very entrepreneurial. He was carrying tradition, and he was very traditional in so many ways. But he was entrepreneurial. Just the fact that he went, you know, to the Wild West on his own, very entrepreneurial. He was striking out on his own, and he wanted his followers to do the same. He would tell devotees, some of them very new, he would tell them, oh, why don't you go to such and such city and open a center? He would send, you know, 2 devotees somewhere, just go there, open a center. So he wanted them also to be entrepreneurial. Just in India, a group of devotees were traveling with Prabhupada, going by train, I think in Gujarat, and they would stop at some town or city, and Prabhupada would say, you two, get off the train and go with this man. He's enthusiastic. Start a center here. Yeah. So that was entrepreneurial. So we need to always I think we need to be looking in 2 directions at the same time. We need to look back to our tradition, look back to what Srila Prabhupada has given, and we also have to look forward into the uncharted territory and not necessarily make the uncharted territory try to, you know, make it look the same as the charted territory. I don't know if that made any sense, but...
Well, thank you, Maharaj. Just a little follow-up. Just kindly indulge me a little further. One is, but first a comment on what you just said, Maharaj, and then the approach many other devotees have been talking about. The first, you were talking about Prabhupada being entrepreneurial, but wouldn't we say it's a missionary spirit wanting many centers to spring up? So, I mean, can we only see that in the sense of being entrepreneurial or being in the missionary spirit. I know the pretty there that's in every town and village. So somehow that's the missionary spirit, which is lacking today. It is lacking today. That's one. And then the second point is I appreciate what you've just said, Maharaj, what you're doing. At the same time, some devotees think that when ISKCON was really thriving, with so many people giving their time, energy, surrendering their lives into devotional missionary activities. The second part of what Srila Prabhupada envisaged did not materialize. And so many devotees did not find a place any longer. So I'm talking about Vanashram. Prabhupada was saying the second part of my mission that is not yet fulfilled or that has to be fulfilled. Vanashram. So many people believe that many devotees cannot fizzle out because the ashram system no longer contains everybody, and the materialization of the Vanashram kind of system that can englobe everyone and offers opportunity to everybody is not materializing. So maybe that is the reason. So what do you think about this, Maharaj?
As soon as anyone mentions Varnashrama, everything opens up into, a place with sort of bottomless pit of ideas. What to say? I don't know what I can say that would be helpful, that would be constructive. What I like to think is that we're still actually a very young society, and that we're kind of going maybe through some period like a teenager who is struggling for identity, self-identity. But when the teenager gets a bit older and they get more clear who they are, then they can go on with life and do very nice things. So I like to think we're still actually a very young society. And I think there's also a lot of good energy. There are young devotees who are very bright, and they want to serve the mission, and they're looking how to do it. And we need to help them find the direction that will work for them. And that has to be done in so many different ways, so many different levels. One way that we're doing this, trying to do this in Oxford, we have an initiative that was started, 3 years ago, I think, called Gaudiya Studies. And it's a kind of online academic program for devotees. And these devotees are sort of hand-picked according to how we see their potential for taking advantage of what we're offering, which is the study of Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition in a, shall we say, academically inflected way. And we've had, I think, altogether 90 students over these 3 years, and it's been very, very positive result, very very encouraging. So that's one initiative, but I think there are others. So I think we need to look, and we need to keep our eyes sharp for these sorts of initiatives. There's also as some of you may know, in Florida, in Gainesville, there's the Krishna House, which is connected with University of Florida. Their lunch prasadam distribution program that's been going on probably 40 years or something. Many young devotees have been coming from that, students, and they're very bright and very inspired. So we can look at what's not there, and we can also look at what's there and derive inspiration from what's there and the positive things, and try to connect ourselves with those and identify with those.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Wow. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for this depth of wisdom. Yeah, it's very, very encouraging, very insightful. We have Her Grace Mitravinda Devi. Please, you may unmute.
Hi, Maharaj. Thank you so much for being here. Always Prabhupada. I just wanted to add something that, yes, the youth need to be inspired and encouraged and supported, but that we not forget the older devotees who have been around and still have a lot to give, as Srila Prabhupada did. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes.
Mitravinda Devi, your audio was not clear enough. Can you kindly repeat? I know it was quite brief. Can you repeat?
Yes. Hear me now? Can you hear me?
I think what I heard. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to say that.
Yes.
It's wonderful and necessary that the youth are supported, encouraged, and inspired, but also as a suggestion that we not forget the devotees who are not teenagers, but who have been around and are sincere and strive to serve Srila Prabhupada and the community, and that, we still have a lot to give, as Srila Prabhupada did as our example, coming over at 76, 75, and going through so many things, to not age us out because we're not our bodies, but all of the devotees on this group right now are fire. They have so much fire left. And it would be wonderful if there were educational platforms provided for not just the younger body devotees, but as well the devotees who have been around and have in devotional lives and still keep going, still want to serve and have a lot to give. So please consider that. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Very, very nice. Thank you. Yes, I vote yes.
It was it was quite unclear, but
she's okay. What I understand she was saying is
well,
there's some delay in the transmission. Anyway, she was making a very nice point. We need to encourage all devotees because there are devotees who are inspired. They want to do something, and they need to be encouraged. There need to be educational programs to channel, I guess you could say, their enthusiasm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. One thing I wanted to share.
Madam Travinda, David, thank you so much for your comment. And yes, please, Maharaj.
So I think one thing that
yes, Maharaj, you may go ahead.
Yes, one thing that we all need encouragement, right? And a few weeks ago in Poland, yes. I was in Warsaw, and devotees very kindly came together and offered me a birthday celebration of Vyasa Puja. And one group of devotees, the Polish devotees who are my shishyas, they offered me a book, which at first I thought it's a kind of Vyasa Puja book like we see many. But then I opened and I saw, no, it's different. And what was different was that the devotees were glorifying each other. So it would be one page dedicated to one devotee. One page dedicated to one devotee. There would be a few pictures, photos of that devotee. And then there was some text of someone had written appreciating the qualities of that devotee. And then the next page, another devotee, the next page, another devotee. And it was just so wonderful to see. So that sort of thing, I think, is also very much needed. Just simple appreciating devotees.
Wow, thank you so much, Maharaj, for sharing this. So beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess it's getting later now.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Maharaj. And what you just shared with us now reminds me of how oftentimes our great His Holiness Bhakti-Kshetra Swami Maharaj used to do similar things with us. He will ask us, as we all sitting in the temple room, he will ask each devotee to say something positive about another devotee.
Yeah.
Sometimes he will ask us to write it and then give to that devotee. Or sometimes he will also ask the devotees to write to us what we needed to work on. And they may not write their names because some people may think, oh, why is this person saying this? But do not write your name, but address it to a particular individual devotee, and then you tell this devotee, I think you can do better this way. So it's very encouraging. Thank you so much, Maharaj. And one last thing I would like to say is that, Maharaj, we're not saying this because you are here with us and because you are a direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada, but all of us who are not direct disciples of Srila Prabhupada, from today till time indefinite, we cannot sufficiently express our gratitude and appreciation to you all for helping Srila Prabhupada give Krishna consciousness to the world. And for that matter, we are all here today trying to serve Guru and Krishna. And this is our humblest, at least in words, expression we can offer to all the direct disciples of Srila Prabhupada who helped Srila Prabhupada establish ISKCON. Our millions and billions of dandavas to all Srila Prabhupada's disciples. And we pray that we can emulate their dedication to Srila Prabhupada and to the mission. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you all.
My
And
thanks to
thank you,
you.
Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
I would say the same is also true if it weren't for all of you, the next
Hare Krishna.
generation, then where would we be? So we're all pulling the ropes of Lord Jagannath's Ratha. It's one big Jagannath Ratha Yatra.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Okay.
On this note, dear devotees, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker, His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami Maharaj, and for his wisdom and the love shared with us all today. Please, you may all unmute and we all chant together. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Vanchakapatarvyascha Kripasindhubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Kalpatarvyascha Kripasindhubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Anantagoti Vaishnavrinda ki Jai. All glories to His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.